الله أكبر الله أكبر.
That. So, yeah, I've got an article here from Reason that I think is kind of controversial right now.
We like that.
Yeah. So Trump, he's a big deal right now. He's ahead in as far as the delegates go. I don't know. It looks like Cruz might be catching up, but regardless, Trump's still in the lead. And the reason, the way that he made his chops was through sort of the immigration debate that goes on in this country. And many people who may disagree with Trump still
I thought he made his chops just because he's, says what he wants to say.
Trump was, I swear I remember a story where Trump paid people to come to his event in New Hampshire because nobody was coming. And, that's not a surprise. Back then, you're talking about like June or something of last year, maybe even earlier than that. I'm not entirely sure.
I don't know if he was in that early. But yes, I recall vaguely the story.
Yeah. And so, a lot of the candidates, it just wasn't that exciting back then, but they were trying to get their ground game going in New Hampshire. And it wasn't until I think it was in June at the it might have been at the Freedom Fest event where he had that speech that kind of got things going, and I believe that might have been where he said that Mexico isn't sending us their best, and the rapists and that kind of.
Good evening. From me here at the Call to Freedom on LRN.FM. So we've got Davi here with me too. What's up, Davi?
I'm doing pretty good. Sipping cocoa on Leaf Erickson. How you doing?
I am, enjoying a cup of coffee, and it's good to have you back.
Yeah, I spent last week in Washington D.C. right above the Hellmouth, and there's some stories there we'll save for some longer segments.
Right on. So How
about you? How was the show?
The show went really well. We had Yasser Qadhi on.
Cool.
Said the coolest thing I've heard anybody that we've interviewed say yet. And we also had the comedian who was there in D.C. with you, Jeremy McClellan.
Well, you got it laid on me. What did you say?
Oh, so yeah, we were talking, and of course, it's my favorite thing because it's the issue that I debate with liberal Muslims all the time. When I question their support for Democrat candidates, usually somewhere in the midst of that, I'm discussing the fact that their foreign policies and this, that, and the other, and they always retort with, "Well, Islam encourages social justice," which is true, but the difference is that it's a voluntary social justice.
But how? Encourages it. Like I saw a commercial that said something along the lines of "Be the generation that eradicates smoking," and I thought, well, that's a kind of a neat message. Like it would be kind of cool if like society was done with tobacco as a trend. But they weren't advocating legislation. They thought they were going to fight with truth, right? That's fine with me. Go out, fight with truth, young liberals. But the moment you pull out a gun, I have a problem with you.
Yeah, exactly. And see, the problem is that it comes back to we always question these big name scholars about the income tax because that's, when Muslims defend their support of liberal policies and liberal candidates, they always come back to, the income tax and, the welfare system. And that's where that's usually the point where I can corner them because, the majority of Islamic scholarly, this is what Imam Yasser Qadhi said, according to the majority of Islamic scholarly across history, so always for all time, the majority of scholars, nearly all were his exact words, believed that, quote, "the state has no right to your money," end quote.
That's cool.
Yeah,
I want that on a t-shirt.
So I actually pulled that out, and I was like,
we got a soundbite. Can we play him?
Well, I can probably pull it up while we're on break, so that we can play that again. But
okay.
I was having a discussion with a guy online, and I was like, so basically what you're telling me, because according to Imam Yasser Qadhi, one of the most renowned Islamic scholars in the world today, the majority of all scholars have believed that the income tax is oppressive. It's plunder. It is, it's not permissible in Islamic law. So are you saying that the majority of all Islamic scholars in history as a Muslim are wrong?
Well, at its most base and fundamental premise. Go ahead.
His response, with no rebuttal, no anything else, was yes, sir. And that was it. That was it. Not why, just yes, sir. I feel the argument's weak. And I'm like, well.
So the thing with the income tax, we like to say taxation is theft in English, but in Arabic, I would say that taxation is riba. At its most fundamental financial oppression sort of definition of the term, it is the accruement of wealth without taking risk. That's what the state is engaged in. They're I don't know how to explain how offensive it is. Do you know what I'm getting at? Do you know this definition of riba? Like, most people define it as interest, but fundamentally it means to accrue wealth without investing risk. Yeah.
It's well, one of the definitions was that he would take a basket of dates, and take it somewhere and then trade it for 2 baskets of dates.
Higher quality dates or lower quality dates.
Yeah,
I know this one.
And that was basically the basis of riba, was that there was no risk. There was no. In order for there to be income, in order for there to be...
Well, there's no market signal in modern terms. It's the idea that you can just have wealth pouring in with no response to who you're satisfying or whether or not they agree or like it's not a mutually beneficial scenario. So people just have to understand this is what the state is engaged in writ large, is financial oppression of a flock of people. And it doesn't matter how they do it. They all have found interesting ways of doing it. But the income tax is one. Yeah, and it's theft writ large. That's all it is.
Yeah, exactly. It's collectivized mass extortion of society.
If loan sharks did it, they'd call them a cartel.
Well, if Social Security was done by a private individual, then they'd call it a Ponzi scheme and put you in prison for for 500 years.
Yeah.
What was it? Bernie Madoff got like 126 years in prison, because rather than taking the public's money as a bank, he took the public's money as an individual.
I don't know what his sentence was.
I know it was some insane amount of time that Madoff got, because basically he did the same thing that the state does with Social Security and other programs, but he did it to individuals as an individual rather than doing it to individuals as the state. So when he did it, it meant prison time. But when the government does it, it's for your own good. So anyway, tonight we're actually going to have James Babb's going to come on with us for a little while after the first break, around 10:15.
Oh, cool.
So we're going to have him on with us for a few minutes. Tell us what happened in D.C., my man.
Well, I went to the International Students for Liberty Conference in Washington, D.C., which is the, I guess, annual gala of the national chapter of what many universities have, which is a Students for Liberty chapter. And I had a piece in their art gallery, which was it's a piece I did back during the Arab Spring, and it essentially consists of rioters and riot police clashing head to head with some fun meme quotes. And I got to give a talk on propaganda and why I think we should embrace it as a tool. And it was good. We had a table for Muslims for Liberty, and that was a wild success. And then right next door, we had a table for Bitcoin, not bombs, which was not that great a success, but, broke even at least. So it was good times. Have you ever been to Washington, D.C.?
I've been through Washington, D.C. I've stopped there and ate at a restaurant on my way through.
Well, if you ever want to pay $15 for a crouton salad, then go to Washington, D.C., because that's how much food costs there.
We stopped at a Red Robin and met with Nikki Haley. So anyway,
okay.
When we get back, we'll get into that, and we'll have James Babb with us here on the Call to Freedom on LRN.FM. And we're back here on the Call to Freedom on LRN.FM. I'm Will Coley. I'm joined by my amazing and illustrious co-host, as always, Mr. Davi Barker.
How's it going?
So we now have joining us Mr. James Babb with you're with the Freedom Fiends, aren't you?
Yes, I am.
You're a fiend.
Yes, I am.
Are you still current on the show, James?
I'll be on later tonight. So there you go.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah.
We could send pigeons.
Cool.
So yeah, we have James on tonight. There's actually something going on, and it's quite historic. And so I figured James could come on and tell us some details about it. There is a debate in Pennsylvania that you are a volunteer.
Correct.
Working with. Well, tell us about it.
Well, it's the Libertarian Party of Pennsylvania is hosting a presidential candidate debate for the LP presidential candidate contenders. And I think it's going to be pretty cool because we have a very interesting panel of experts that will be delivering questions to them. So they're gonna really. I'm not going to say they're going to be running the gauntlet, but it will be a test. It will be a test to see how they handle our Pennsylvania libertarians. Are we kind of have a reputation around Philly for being pretty hardcore. No compromise. So, there's always some kind of weird people want to be the candidate. So, and some, could be, and some great libertarians. So we're going to try to get to the bottom of who's who.
Is this the one that Daryl W. Perry was fighting to be in?
You know what? We should have omitted him just so he could get publicity for, for being omitted, but no, he was invited. I think you're referring to like a Fox News one where they picked three candidates. They've got two libertarians, and Austin Peterson are going to be in that debate.
Actually, they've got one libertarian and Austin Peterson in that debate.
Which one is? McAfee? Is he? I don't know. Oh, is he? Okay.
He's a recycled Republican. I don't know what it is.
Yeah. Well, and it was in his campaign last time. His slogan was actually "Be libertarian with me just one time." And it actually was his slogan. So
they're lipos. They're libertarian and party only, and the party's got to cut the fat. As far as I'm concerned, Daryl Perry's the only libertarian in the Libertarian Party until I meet someone else, except maybe Starchild.
There you go.
There you go. McAfee on either the 27th or the 3rd. So
okay, cool.
Yeah.
Well, I like I found libertarianism. The first person ever I heard use the word was Harry Brown when I found him like on C-SPAN one time when he ran for president. And I realized there is an opportunity to reach people with a libertarian message. It's a bunch of free exposure. So why wouldn't you take it? But if you're giving it to somebody who's not going to be good at selling libertarianism, then there's really no purpose. So,
well, the first person I heard say libertarian was Ian Freeman, and it was as he was leaving the party. So,
right.
Well, I really don't even. I'm not a. I have a lot of friends in the Libertarian Party of Pennsylvania because there's some just great people. And,
yeah, that's true.
And you know what? When we get together, we have an awesome time. So I'm not worried about whatever the party business or that kind of stuff. I just love having parties with libertarians, and this is going to be a great one.
Cool.
Yeah, it sounds interesting. Like different.
I'm going to be going to. I'm going to be going to the Libertarian Party convention in Minneapolis, Minnesota next month.
Nice.
It'll be fun.
Will it be still under ice at that point, or?
I don't know. I have not even checked the weather. That's a good point. But you know what? Like, I winter in New Hampshire. Like, what can this country throw at me that's worse than winter in New Hampshire? Besides Alaska.
Winter in Chicago.
Or summer in San Francisco. Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Actually, I'll be doing summer in Orlando. We'll be at the National Convention. I will be speaking on Friday, I believe, at 3 in the afternoon. I'll be giving the presentation that everybody loved at PorkFest so much a couple of years ago. Liberty brings us together. We'll be giving we'll be giving that presentation at the National Convention on Memorial Day weekend. So that will be a blasty blast.
I'm doing authoritarian sociopathy in Minnesota. I've only presented that at what is it? Freedom Fest in Phoenix. Is that right? Ernie Hancock's event in Phoenix. I forget the name of it. Freedom Summit. There we go.
Yeah.
But that was like, no, not Jackalope. Jackalope is the Pork Fest of the West. Freedom Fest or Freedom Summit is the Liberty Forum of Arizona.
Oh, okay.
And
No, it's not that square. Come on.
well, they had me and Cody Wilson at the same thing, so it's not as square as Liberty Forum. But I'm gonna do authoritarian sociopathy because I've only presented it there, and I think cool.
Oh, I think that'll be
it's
great.
worth seeing in more places.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. So we have an interesting panel of experts for our debate. Of course, one of the reasons I wanted to have some of these experts in is so the candidates can get some challenging questions. So first person I thought of was Larkin Rose.
Experts in what?
Experts in anything. So
are you the coordinator on this gig, James? Is this your party?
I'm a volunteer. I'm one of multiple people, but I have experience with event planning and stuff. So,
well, you should tell the highest person in any organizing capacity at this event that the people want Jeopardy, not debates. We want
Jeopardy. Okay, tell me. Let's say so we could structure this as Jeopardy.
Yeah, you have the candidates on and they play Jeopardy because we don't care what answers they've prepared. We want to know what questions they don't know. And
wow. I might not have the ability to implement that at this stage of the game, but that's a great idea.
We are doing somewhere someday.
We are doing feats of strength.
I like that. Is it like a Scottish log toss?
Well, I'm not going to reveal the specifics right now, but
is it Jello wrestling?
Let's just say, I think Gary Johnson is favored in this event. So,
well, Lincoln could wrestle. That didn't make him a good president.
Well, it made him electable. Look, I can wrestle somebody to the ground. Vote for me. Yeah. Anyway, well then, our mutual friend
contest.
Our mutual friend Hesham is going to be one of the panelists as well. So
cool. Yeah, he's Sham El-Maligi. That's Muslims for Liberty New England regional.
Yeah. Well, I had heard him, and I guess it was Manhattan, asking Gary Johnson some tough questions. I thought, I like that guy.
Well, he's been ducking us ever since then. Like that's the first time that we heard him say anything stupid about Muslims publicly. And he was challenged at the event, and then it was like, well, before you say anything publicly about Islam again, perhaps you should actually sit down with somebody that knows what the hell they're talking about. And he was
that seems fair.
That's a good idea. And then, it's March now, on its way to April, and we're still, waiting for.
Well, was this before the proposed burqa ban? I think, right?
Yeah. Well, when we get back, we'll get back into that, talk some more about the candidates in the debate on Call to Freedom on LRN.FM. And we're back here on the Call to Freedom on LRN.FM. We have James Babb with us. He is a volunteer with the Libertarian Party presidential debate upcoming in Pennsylvania, and is also a co-host of the Freedom Fiends here on LRN.FM, as well as my always amazing co-host Davi Barker.
How's it going?
So we. Who else have you got? What other kind of experts have you got on this panel here?
Well, we have Larkin Rose, who I asked because I want him to ask like hard philosophical questions. Part of this we want to know. I want to know exactly who's a libertarian on that stage and who's not. And I think he has a clarity of thought and of language that'll really help us narrow that down.
Sounds like a good choice.
Yeah. And we're hoping Josie the Outlaw will also be on the panel. So that is unconfirmed, but looks very promising. So we invited a token liberal, which we thought would provide some entertainment value, just to sort of ask gotcha questions like, wouldn't warlords
who will build the roads?
Yeah, and roads, and wouldn't old people explode in the street? And but we really can't get any takers, which is kind of funny. But that was one possible idea.
Well, then you need an actor. We got actors in the liberty movement.
What about economics? Who have you got for economics?
Well, no, actually, Austin Peterson is not attending, so he will not be there.
So, is this a name I need to know? This convention in DC is the first I've heard the name Austin Peterson. I don't know a thing about him.
Well,
some people call him Austin Plagerson. I don't know why exactly. Besides,
he'll be on our show on March 20th, along with a panel of 5 Muslims and the 2 of us. And
well, if he's accused of plagiarism, he's akin to me. I'm accused of plagiarism all the time. So.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll be hosting the first ever Muslim candidate.
What would you do if it was true and you and somebody contacted you and like, hey, that was my article and photo on your website. Would you mind giving me a credit and maybe a link back? And instead of doing that, get blocked on social media.
Who cares?
Did this really happen? Are we talking about a story now?
Yeah. Oh,
what happened? So give me the details. What happened?
You got Lisa DeLasho. She is the I've seen the, basically he was just rude to her, just stole her work, refused to give any credit, and just blocked her on social media for asking about it.
Like cut and paste, like verbatim, just took her stuff.
Yeah, like a photo that she had edited and text from her story. So that's why the name Austin Plagerson is out there. I don't know,
Well, I think maybe the nickname's the perfect sentence then. Like, I don't think the guy deserves jail time or anything. But, goofy nicknames,
Yeah.
Shame him for life as a writer.
Some ribbing. I don't know. Mistakes happen. And, but it just seems like if you're presented with it, it wouldn't be that hard to just throw somebody a link or,
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know. It seems like an interesting character. Can't wait to find out more. At least it's going to bring something interesting to the table. So I don't know what his libertarian credentials are, though. Doesn't look like it. But isn't every libertarian an economics expert? So. So I don't know. Hey, give me some ideas. Give me some ideas for questions, and maybe we can work them in. So yeah. Yeah, and all of them. I don't want it to look like this is going to be kind of an ambush for Gary Johnson. But I think that everyone is going to be challenged with some tough questions. So that's really the goal. It's going to be, real libertarians are going to shine. The posers may have a problem.
Okay.
He's my favorite. He's my favorite, definitely. Well, we have invited Vermin to our debate in Pennsylvania. As soon as I saw he had announced and was looking forward to not being allowed in the debates, I just couldn't wait to get him in our debate. He was like, finally somebody that brings like the right level of dignity to the process, I think. And I would be so thrilled if he could come to Pennsylvania.
Hey, Vermin's a Democrat. Maybe he belongs on the panel as a liberal.
Well, I think he's given up his democratic ways. I don't know. I thought he denounced them.
Did he really? I hadn't heard that.
Yeah. Yeah, he's denounced them.
He was talking about something. It was in Canada, though, but he called it the Facetious Party, and I thought that was the greatest name for a political party.
Yeah, it's hard to know even the depth of his brilliance because just a few conversations I've had with him, and when I watch him perform, I just feel like this guy is a genius. So
yeah.
And I think his mass murder would be slightly less than the other candidates. So
and you know what? I got a verbal assurance from Vermin Supreme himself that flossing vouchers are going into the mandatory toothbrushing bill. So I'm on board with it now. That was my only holdout, was I wanted flossing vouchers. And
that's fair. That's just sensible. We just want sensible. We're just talking about sensible flossing regulation here, where nobody's. Yeah.
And the other thing, if you want to get out the young vote, as soon as I told my fifth graders that he was offering free ponies, every single one of them jumped on board. So there's that.
Yeah, but it's mandatory ponies too, so it's a little bit of a catch. But that's what you get with a friendly fascist. It's mandatory, but it's a pony. So could be worse.
Hey, I can't wait to hear him roll out like mandatory ice cream Mondays.
There you go. I object. Ice cream should clearly be on Wednesdays.
Well, that's just a discussion that we're going to have in the parliament then.
I think you need to have a referendum on that.
We don't have a parliament, do we? We have Congress.
See, the whole idea of having the fascist in office is so you don't have to worry about it. He's just going to come up with the right answer, and he's friendly, so it's cool. And
hey, if America doesn't have a parliament yet, maybe we should just start one.
Well, I like the way. Is that the one where they like yell at each other and like really make nasty insults and like jump around and really sometimes it's like fist fights and stuff?
Well, they used to do that in Congress a long time ago. I would love if they went back to that. Then I would start watching C-SPAN.
Maybe the new Trump era could bring that back, like just a sort of this rough and
C-SPAN would
tumble.
have higher ratings than TBS on WWF night.
I'd like to see Congress in gun duels with each other.
Oh, yes. Bring back the days of Aaron Burr. That would be awesome. Well, we'll talk about
really
more.
with like really accurate pistols, like really accurate, like the best you can get.
We'll get into more inappropriate stuff like this when we come back here on the Call to Freedom on LRN.FM. And we're back here on Call to Freedom on LRN.FM. And we just been here hanging out. Davi got back from D.C., had a good time there, gave a good speech. Then we had James Babb come on with us. He's been hanging out with us for a little while. And we've got something pretty cool that we wanted to show you guys. I guess we'll call this the global premiere of a new song. It's definitely going to be a top 10 hit. I am absolutely positive, Davi. This song is going to be, as soon as you get done with the production on it, this song will be viral. It will be like Billboard Top 40. If
I want it playing at Donald Trump rallies across the country. That's what I want. That's how strongly I feel
Wow,
about
that could be huge.
right.
So,
Did you get a chance to listen to it, James?
Yes, I did.
All right.
so let me set this up. You got to understand, this is a 30-second teaser of a song which is completely recorded, but not completely mastered, as they say.
Okay.
And so we're going to master it this week, but this is the third. This is how I call it Schrodinger's Tuesday because I haven't observed the results yet. But this is how my friends and I spent last Tuesday.
All right. Well, without further ado, the global debut of, what'd you call it? Schrodinger's Tuesday.
The song's called Trump. Band is working title Schrodinger's Tuesday. It might change.
All right, here we go.
Trump cruised the beltway in a limousine, rubbing elbows with powerful elites. He likes to brag about the bills in his pocket, buys regulations to maximize his profit. He's Trump, is he brain dead? He's Trump, or just inbred. Ah, yeah!
All right, so yeah, there we go. There you have it. The teaser trailer for the new Schrodinger Tuesday Trump, written by our very own Davi Barker, I take it, correct?
Well, I did the lyrics. I'm sure that you recognize the tune. It's a famous song called "Lump" by the Presidents of the United States of America. It came out in the '90s.
Yeah.
But yeah, we retooled the thing into a nice piece of satire. So
Yeah, that's definitely a nostalgic song for me. Freshman year, high school, that thing.
yeah, right. So definitely next week on this show we'll have the full song, and I'll probably release it in other places sometime this week.
That's gonna be awesome. I can't wait.
And it should be on iTunes eventually too.
Yeah, absolutely. You got to get it on iTunes. You got to get it on Pandora. It's got to be everywhere.
Yeah.
So, let's see what else we got going on here. Yeah, we actually had another guest that we were supposed to have on tonight. His name is Imam Muhammad Al-Asi. We tried and we got a hold of his handler. I got actually one of my cousins works for him as I guess like a communications director, and I got in touch with him, and he put me in touch with the imam, and then that was kind of as far as that went, unfortunately. Basically, his story is that he was born here in the U.S. in Michigan. Went to Lebanon when he was like 10 or 11 years old, studied there, went to college there, came back here, started working as an imam at a mosque in D.C., and made some statements somewhat critical of the Saudi establishment, and ended up losing his job because it was a Saudi-funded mosque. So, go figure. But since then, he has staged a a form of civil disobedience. He staged a protest in front of the building, giving Friday religious services, what they call the Jummah Khutbah, giving that every Friday in front of the building as a form of protest to the fact that his criticism of a foreign state cost him his job. So, but unfortunately, he didn't make it with us. He's also one of the few Muslims that I've found that has the balls to discuss 9/11 truth in public. Have you noticed that, Davi? Like Muslims.
I've never heard a Muslim like leader of any kind, imam or whatever, discussing 9/11 truth in public.
Yeah, me neither. Well, I mean, back
with the exception of maybe Kevin Barrett, although he's not an imam anywhere, he's an outspoken Muslim.
Yeah, well, I mean, he's kind of an outcast Muslim because of the fact that he's so outspoken on the whole 9/11 truth thing, because Muslims just don't want to be associated with a movement to find out what really happened. It's like somehow, well, it's been portrayed in the media that basically if you question the official story of 9/11, if you're Muslim, well, that just means you're a terrorist. Like,
I just don't even understand the official story. It's not a matter of questioning it. It's that it's like it just doesn't make enough sense for me to know what it is. So, like, that's my problem with it. You want to talk propaganda?
Politicians. It came from politicians. So, what does that mean? What does that say about its chance of truthfulness?
yeah, it's probably correct.
Yeah.
I mean, if you
So can we talk propaganda?
talk, let's do it.
So this is the thing. This is kind of a hat tip to MK Lord. She tipped me off to this psychological study, and there's apparently 3 or 4 of them that have studied this, and they call it the backslide effect. And what that means is that in a debate with someone, in a confrontation or a conversation where you disagree or in a dispute, people are not moved by reason and evidence. Shocker. We're impervious to facts, human beings, psychologically speaking. And not only that, but the more tight, the more airtight that your argument is, the better your reason and evidence, the more the other person will walk away from the dispute certain of their position. And that's what these psychological studies are finding. They call it the backslide effect. It's essentially the same as Salin's law, what you resist persists. It's that when you come at a person with reason and evidence that their worldview is wrong, they panic like you're trying to exterminate them or something. And their egos and their intellects bolster with counter arguments. And those counter arguments are louder than yours. And so they walk away more certain of their errors. And so as libertarians, we have to ask ourselves, if we are committed to using reason and evidence, then we must absolutely stop using reason and evidence. And that's a problem. But that's what the science suggests. And so I think it's time that we start looking at tools like propaganda. Now, libertarians already know how to do propaganda because they're really good at knowing the logical fallacies. And the logical fallacies essentially translate perfectly to propaganda techniques. There are things like bandwagon effect. There are things like ad nauseum, especially. Ad nauseum is one of my favorites, repeating things over and over again. So this was my talk, and I'm kind of serious. I we have to accept that propaganda is not aggression. It's just a tool, and it matters who's using it for what. As cynical and grotesque as that sounds.
It makes perfect sense, though. But that's why I've moved all of my arguments to meme-based arguments. I think I just got tired of typing answers, and it's easier now to just look for the dankest meme you can get and just drop it and move on.
But here's why this is important, and this is libertarian ivory tower stuff, people. Not everyone in the world is going to be a genius, and not everybody in the world should be a genius. Like it's unreasonable for you, libertarian geniuses out there to expect other people to have the rigor, intellectual, academic, I've read every book and mentality that you have. That's not the way society runs. And you should know better, libertarians, because you understand the division of labor. You understand that it's not everybody's job to read Rothbard. So you've gotta, everything I need to know I learned in kindergarten, this stuff. Like, this is my point.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of goes into like with what I was saying earlier, where I was talking to this guy, and and basically my argument was every single scholar in history disagrees with you. So is your argument basically that every scholar in history is incorrect and you are correct? And the answer was just yes, but with nothing to back it, just.
But that's the thing. Well, that guy's walking away more certain of the income tax than when he met you, because you triggered his little execution brain. And
what's the how do you fight this without some kind of like time travel or something? I got no idea.
We'll try to figure it out when we get back here on the Call to Freedom on LRN.FM. With me, Will Coley, and the great Davi Barker. And hopefully we'll still have James with us when we get back. So, yep, here on the Call to Freedom, LRN.FM. All right, y'all, we are back here on the Call to Freedom on LRN.FM. It is me, Will Coley, and I'm joined by my amazing co-host, Davi Barker, and we still have James Babb on the line with us, I believe. So,
Yes.
Yeah, we were here listening. Davi was talking about propaganda and the recent speech that he gave at the International Students for Liberty Conference in D.C. last week. And, we're basically... facts are a bad thing in an argument.
The science.
What about memes, though? What about memes?
Memes are great, and the reason is because they're small, they're palatable, they feel like they're coming from the common man. They're simple. They're also easy to misinterpret, and it's easier to get people to accept things they've misinterpreted for some reason.
The 2-minute limit on people's attention span lately is another problem. That's one of the things that my wife says is a problem that I'm running into with, the work that we do with Muslims for Liberty, or like trying to promote Daryl among the Muslim community. When you're like, hey, did you know there's a candidate who on the air on 164 stations around the country, defended not just Islam but like the honor of the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, and what that entailed was about 15 minutes, and Muslims aren't willing to, or anyone really, I guess, is not really willing to listen to something that takes that long. They want it to be quick, short, 2 minutes or less, and appeal to their emotion. And if it doesn't follow within that, then it's not going to move. No one's going to check it out. No one's going to be interested. You've got that's. I think that's part of the reason why Larkin doesn't take off more than he does, is because, when he talks, it's brilliance, but it takes longer than 2 minutes, so people aren't willing to listen.
Well, he's been used in some great memes, just taking some quotes and a picture that are quite, I think excellent on their own. I can't think of one off the top of my head, but they circulate all over the internet. I see them all the time. So,
again, there are.
So here's an example of what I'm talking about. So you guys have heard this quote, I'm certain. It's power corrupts and absolute power corrupts absolutely, right?
Sure.
So this originates with a guy named Lord Atkin, I think is his name. And I want you to imagine for a moment a scenario where you're trying to persuade someone of the power of this expression. You're going to do it with a poster, and you have a choice, okay? You can either put this quote with a photograph of Lord Atkin. I don't even know what he looks like. Or a photograph of Captain Kirk, who also said this. Which poster do you think is going to be more persuasive to the run-of-the-mill audience, or to the largest audience? Right.
Oh, duh. Yeah.
Because they're impervious to facts. Like, the statement itself is relevant. It has to do with all of the things they've already attached to the source of information, and people generally only accept things from sources they trust. This is why a lot of conservatives are in a conundrum right now about abortion, because they've dumped all this money and support behind Donald Trump, only to find out late in the game that he's pro-choice. And now they've established this as a valuable, as a reliable source, and now they've actually got to think about it for the first time maybe their lives. And
I don't think that's something they're finding out late in the game. I think that was something that they were willing to sacrifice in the name of everything else that Trump stands for. Like, abortion isn't as important to them as keeping the brown people out. Yeah.
It's about hating brown people is the leading issue. They can tolerate almost anything if there's enough hatred and bigotry presented. It seems that way to me. I don't know how else to interpret it, but they just compete to see who can be the most bigoted and ridiculous and horrible. I don't get it. I really don't.
I made a statement about 5 years ago when I was working on a Tea Party radio show in Florida that basically was the easiest way to get a Republican to support a communist policy is to invoke a prejudice that they have around that law. So let's see, national IDs. That's a plank of communism. So most Republicans support real ID measures. Why? Well, because of the scary Muslims. You invoke a prejudice, and now they'll willingly support a communist policy.
Sure.
A national worker registry. We call it E-Verify, but the communists called it a national worker registry. It's a plank of communism again. Who supported it? The Republicans. Why? We got to keep those Mexicans and those illegals from getting those jobs we don't want them to get. So you invoke a prejudice, and a Republican will gladly support communism.
Oh, absolutely.
Sure.
I mean, look at Trump. He's like leading with, we're going to pay for everybody's health care. Remember that? Like, we're going to take care of everybody, he said. Like, universal health care. That's way more liberal than Obama's awful health care but Trump's like, whatever.
What's what William Grigg described as situation?
A situational what?
Situational Leninism. Basically,
Situational Leninism. Okay, I'm ready.
Basically, the idea that it's only wrong when the other team does it. So if
no matter what it is, it could be really awful.
Oh, Lenin didn't come up with that. That's like a time-honored human tradition in every society we've ever encountered.
Well, he breaks the whole thing down, but you have to wait a moment. I've got a video where he breaks the whole thing down, and then there's an article where Grigg breaks down Lenin's. Basically, it was a part of Lenin's strategy to use this kind of mentality of, when the Bolsheviks do it, it's okay, but when the white shirts do it, it's wrong. That kind of thing. And it's like you said, it's with everybody. With No Child Left Behind, we couldn't question that. But now Common Core, that's the devil, because Common Core was Obama's overhaul of federalized education, whereas No Child Left Behind was George Bush's overhaul of federalized education. Now, both of them are blazing failures. And made our kids dumber by the year. But
Will, if we want to get to hell, we have to pave the road with good intentions. It doesn't matter if the policies are a success.
Amen to that. So, but that's basically what you have here is since Trump is the one who's advocating for it, now all of a sudden these policies that were terrible when the Democrats were doing it are amazing and wonderful. It's just like war. Under Obama, when Bush was invading countries, there were people screaming. There were tens of thousands of people screaming in the streets. When Obama invades 3 or 4 new countries, it's humanitarian. We're helping people. It's a good thing. His bombs have flowers painted on them.
It's the same with like Rand Paul too. I've got this. I've heard exactly the same sort of. Just denial of facts for Rand Paul. Like somebody at Liberty Forum, we just saw this great presentation from Ed Snowden, via Skype at Liberty Forum. It's like incredible. Everybody loves Ed Snowden. Well, but then in conversation afterwards, I mentioned, what about Rand Paul saying that Ed Snowden should share a cage with Clapper, like. So they're like, well, no, then it was explained to me. And it was explained that because Rand Paul actually knew Clapper would never see jail time, this was his code way of saying that he didn't think Snowden should go to jail. So by saying exactly. I'm like, really? Like, how did you come up with that? Like, you must have seriously struggled to come up with that. Like, but it was actually, this argument was constructed and yelled at me. Like, okay. and then I was told that if it wasn't for those anarchists, we'd still have Rand Paul. But because we failed to support him, we have no more Rand Paul.
Well, in reason and logical debate, the rule is always the louder the point can be made, the more likely that it is correct. So,
well, where do they get off thinking that they own my support? I didn't support him because I don't support him. If it wasn't for all the Democrats and they had all voted for whoever, then it would have won too.
It's those 6 anarchists. Gosh darn it.
Well, we'll get into more blaming the anarchists for all the Republicans' problems when we get back here on the Call to Freedom on LRN.FM. And we are back here on the Call to Freedom on LRN.FM. So, yeah, we're just hanging around, chit-chatting a little while. We've got Davi Barker on the line with us still, as well as Mr. James Babb. And, Davi, we have a new crazy...
What now?
I thought we had someone new joining us.
I don't know. I sent him the link. He said he wanted it. He hasn't clicked on it. Maybe he hasn't seen it yet. I don't know. We'll see.
Whatever. Next. So, yeah, what were we doing? I completely forgot.
We were talking Liberty Forum. Yeah, I didn't go to Liberty Forum this year on account of going to the Students for Liberty thing the following week, and I could not get together 2 East Coast trips back to back like that. And it's the first Liberty Forum I've missed in 3 or 4 years.
It was the first one I'd ever been to. So I thought.
Well, I'm sorry I missed you.
Yeah. Well, it was, the Ed Snowden thing made it really kind of special. Like my daughter Dorothy, she really wanted to go for that, and she kind of like talked us into it. So, yeah, cool. It was definitely a fun time. Just a different crowd than Pork Fest. It's definitely not the same crowd.
Oh yeah, I mean, there's a lot of overlap, but it's a different event.
People were wearing badges to show that they were elected. Like they were really proud of their badges. It seemed like so. Like, okay.
Like New Hampshire elected officials? Is that what you
like
mean?
State reps. They were like state reps all over the place. Like everywhere you turn around, there's another state rep. They were.
See, this is the mission creep of the Free State Project, right? So like they've got their 20,000 signatures now. Now the question is, what do they do with this bureaucracy? Because it's an iron law of bureaucracy that once the mission is fulfilled, the bureaucracy's new mission is to sustain itself. And the first thing it needs is a mission. So what are they going to do now?
Well, I guess the people still have to move there. So that's not like the mission is really completed yet. But
no, but that's not their job. That was never their job.
I never knew what their job was.
Their job was to promote triggering this 20,000 signature, whatever. It's on everyone else to fulfill their intentions.
True. So,
but maybe that's it. Maybe there'll be a Free State Police, and they'll go around the country kidnapping people.
Yeah, turns out that thing you signed at a convention 12 years ago was actually legally binding. And,
well,
like a frat hazing.
It's right there in the fine print. You totally agreed. And
I think it's neat. I think it's very interesting to watch the developments in New Hampshire. And even though I'm not really a politics or, work it from the inside kind of person, I still find it very interesting to see the stuff they're doing. So
yeah,
I'm
a signer. I'm planning to move. The intention says I have 5 years. I'm going to try and do it in 1.
I'm not. That's like they had those wanted posters up, not this year. I think it was last year, and I got harassed by. They had some game going on trying to get people to sign up, and I was just like, I'm sorry. I love the idea, and I love the Free State Project, and I love Pork Fest. But see, the problem is I have to leave Pork Fest every so often during the festival and go out and associate with the people who, run stores and I don't like Yankees. I'm from the South. I grew up in the South, and I hate, it sounds kind of prejudiced. And
that sounds kind of collectivist. Yeah.
Yeah. But I don't like Yankees. I don't like the way that they drive. I don't like their attitude when they take care of me at businesses. And it's not just in New Hampshire. Like if I stop in New York, I don't like the attitude of the person behind the counter because it's just not. It's a cultural thing.
Okay. What about Philly? Come on.
I've never been to Philly.
Well,
I don't even know what you're talking about. I've lived on
welcomed with open arms.
Because you live in California, Davi. It's the same kind of thing there, I guess. Well, it's just.
But I've wandered around New Hampshire. I've never had anybody mistreat me or anything.
Well, no, I think it's just the mannerism. Like here in the South, it's all about like people are overtly polite here. Like the way that if you piss off an old grandmother here. The way that she basically says "f you" is "well bless your heart." Like that's the way the culture is here. So
that's harsh.
Well, when you work in customer service here, that's the kind of behavior that is absolutely expected. Like if you give the customer the inclination in any way, shape, or form that you feel like you're doing work to take care of them, that's your job. And like what I've found in the businesses that I did business with while I was in New Hampshire and New York and New Jersey and every other state north of Virginia was that like that attitude existed in every service worker that I dealt with. That like I make minimum wage to make your coffee, and I'm not happy about it, and I'm going to make sure that you know I'm not happy at work here. Now, here in the South,
It's not good.
Here in the South, you'd lose your job for that. You know, if you had that kind of a demeanor with customers. And what I found in the up north was like that was just kind of par for the course. That was the way that customer service representatives deal with customers there. You go to Dunkin' Donuts, they're going to be dismissive and rude. If you go to the grocery store, they're going to be, you know, like the fact that they're giving you service and getting money for it is like a major thing to them, and they just want to make sure you know that they're not happy with how much money they make or where their place is in life. And here,
you know what's funny, Will? I haven't considered this at all, and I think it's because I had just sort of planned to show up in New Hampshire as an agorist and plug in with agorists and do as much of the service providing that I need from agorist people. And I already know most of them. So it's not like I'm planning on meeting a bunch of New Hampshire strangers.
Well, see, I know the reality of the fact that you're going to have to deal with greater society, that PorkFest doesn't last all year long.
No, I'm not talking just about PorkFest. Like I've wandered around Manchester and I've stayed at people's houses and I've been to the Quill and the Cack, and
You've eaten pancakes, right?
yeah. I have half a mind to pick, because I understand George isn't doing it anymore. I have half a mind to show up and like offer to cook people a meal for some price and go around cooking meals for people. I mean, I'm a pretty good chef actually. So
Well, I have 5 kids. I can't really do that. So
yeah.
it doesn't work like that for me. Unfortunately, I have all those family responsibilities to deal with, you know, so
Although I don't like California people, like the mannerisms
to deal with the general public. And
but see, that's the other thing. The mannerisms and the etiquette of California, I don't like. So I can't really imagine I'm going to go and be less happy about it.
Okay. Well, see, I do like it here. Like this.
Well, but you know, maybe you're misinterpreting certain signals and communications too. Because I want to say I grew up in Virginia, and I understand Southern hospitality. It's no joke. It's a real tradition, and hospitality is just something that it's very valued in Southern culture, from my experience. So I think I understand where you're coming from, but I also see there's a different hospitality in different places, and it doesn't mean they're not being just as genuine, they're not just as appreciative of your business, but there may be different styles, different languages, different body language that you might be interpreting as being rude or disrespectful. It's just a different way of doing things.
A huff and an eye roll is pretty universal.
I'm not saying everyone is going to be giving you great service, but I have had exceptional hospitality any place I go in the world, and terrible hospitality. So
well, maybe we had a good spot. We stopped in Vermont. Maybe we can do better on our next trip, and we'll try to talk about PorkFest and all those great things when we get back on here on the Call to Freedom on LRN.FM. And we are back here on the Call to Freedom on LRN.FM. We've been hanging out, chit-chatting a little bit about Liberty Forum and a few different things here. I'm joined, as always, by my amazing co-host, Davi Barker, and we also are joined by Mr. James Babb and Liberty Phoenix.
How's it going, guys?
Wonderful.
Great.
Although it'd be better off if I wasn't in Illinois, but Tennessee, California, I can't remember where James is at, but anywhere is pretty much better than Illinois.
I'm in Philadelphia.
Well, I'm not currently in California. I'm currently on the deck of the Leif Erikson in international waters. But I can't speak for all of California.
They all gave you their consent forms?
Well, it's tacit consent. What they haven't done is sent me their opt-out forms. That's how things run over here.
Right. They didn't move to Somalia, so it's fair
So they
game.
obviously, so they submit to my authority by not resisting.
Sounds legally binding to me.
It's just that good old Western hospitality. That's what that is.
Next, they'll be offering you their daughters.
And don't forget 3 goats. 3 goats and a.
There you go.
You know, we actually have a herd of goats in Sunnyvale that goes around. This is an entrepreneurial project. The guy goes because there's huge fields that grow over, and so he charges people to let him field his goats.
Well, that's what we do with ours
That's
here.
brilliant.
That's what we do with ours here. We have an area in the back that doesn't. Well, it grows up really bad, and it's hard to mow back there because it's an.
But that's your grass, right? Like, imagine somebody paying you to feed your goat. Like,
Yeah, I know.
nature's lawnmower.
I've had people do that. They come over and they rent my goats for 3-4 weeks, and they pay me $50 and take my goats to their house and put them in a field, and the goats eat everything down just almost to the roots.
Can they eat bamboo, by the way?
They can eat pretty much if they can get it in their mouth. Pretty much, they'll eat.
I have a serious bamboo problem, and I thought I needed like a herd of pandas or something to come eat it back, but maybe goats could do it.
I don't know. Get one. Just get a baby and stick it out there and see what he does. I had one that had a really bad problem. He loved to eat cigarette butts. Like if we would let,
I'm sure that's great.
Was it a nicotine addicted goat?
I guess I don't know what happened. Like we'd tie him up in the back, and
Now he's vaping.
Right. And it was 4th of July, and they were firing fireworks off, and that completely freaked him the hell out. And he flipped out and broke his collar, because we just had him like on a dog collar because he was cool. And he broke that, went to the neighbor's house, hid up underneath of their van, had to go down there. My neighbor was so pissed. Had to go down there, fish the goat out from underneath of there, take it home. I guess somewhere in the midst of all that, he ate some cigarette butts, because from that point
when did my goat get cigarette breath? That's weird.
Yeah. From that point forward, anytime he was outside, he was straining. He would try to find all the cigarette butts that were anywhere around him in the backyard. Because when I'm back there, like shoveling chicken poop, or picking greens, or shoveling, whatever we're doing back there, plowing, whatever it is, I smoke while I work. And so those butts get deposited randomly throughout wherever I'm working at, and he'll just walk around and find and just pick them up.
He's just being helpful.
Yeah,
He's just helping.
yeah. But
Better him than me. That's what I say.
he was the goat that I had that committed suicide, though.
Oh no!
I wonder if these are related.
Did you
leave
cut him off from nicotine and he just couldn't take it?
You're right. Did you end up quitting smoking?
No, I actually didn't end up quitting smoking. Well, we tied him up.
Wow! So he died for nothing.
We tied him up in the very, very back of the property, and something happened. He got himself hooked around this great big tree that I'm just looking at it like, how in the hell did this animal do this? But he got himself flipped around upside down with his hooves caught in his collar, wrapped around, and when he flipped over, his hooves pushed his chin up, and he broke his own neck.
Oh,
Oh,
Yeah,
poor guy.
His name was Nihari, because that's what we were going to make out of him.
I think
That's
he was
clever.
just looking for freedom, and it went bad. Something happened. Like,
But he's free now.
Yeah.
Hey, we know a lot of people that raise and slaughter animals. Like we've got Nick Hazelton with his yaks, and we've got Mark with his senators. Like how do these people use the whole animal? Like, because I need some leather. Like I actually do need like a small bit of leather. Like, is it possible to get it from one of these farmers?
Yeah, we make rabbit leather, goat leather, any furred animal that we slaughter, we save all of it.
interesting.
All of it. We use it.
We might be able
It
to.
can be used.
So what do you need, Will? You want some silver? What does it take to get some of this?
Well, it would take us getting everything rolling again in the springtime, waiting until the fall and when we slaughter, and then waiting until the following spring when the leather would be tanned, because we do old-fashioned
Tanning. All right.
No chemicals.
Well, let me work out the prototype, and then maybe by then I'll be ready to produce more than one.
We use rabbit piss and pink curing salt.
Okay.
To cure and soften the leather, and then we hand break it and hand soften it. It's dried and it has to be hand broken and then worked, but it's quite a process that you have to go through to get leather that's, leather like how you.
Yeah, I want something I can stitch together with twine. That's what I want.
Yeah,
I understand that it's a whole process. Like I've read about it. I just have never had the opportunity. But suddenly I have the need, and so
you can go on eBay. They sell on eBay. You can get rabbit leather, goat leather, fresh made cow's leather. You can get all that stuff on eBay, depending on the size. You can get it in different colors. You can get it with fur on it if you want.
That's interesting.
Yeah, they sell it on eBay, and it's different prices for different sized pieces and different types of animals.
Okay.
So I mean, if you don't want to wait a year to get a piece from me, then you could go through. You can find it on eBay.
Well, put me down for a piece in a year, because I'll probably need it by then. But I'll find something sooner, too.
Experiment on. That's what.
I'm working on a Pork Fest costume, top secret. But we'll see what happens.
Right on.
You're going as Krampus.
I'm going as Donald Trump.
Oh, Donald Trump as Krampus. Yeah.
So did you get a God?
Is there a difference?
Did you get a God Hates Flags T-shirt, Davi, while you were there?
I did get a God Hates Flags T-shirt. I gotta tell you, I'm uncomfortable wearing it though, because too many people don't finish reading.
Oh, that's right.
But I got a lot of laughs at school, and it started a conversation with more than one of my grades about whether or not a flag qualified as an idol in the graven image sense of the word. Uh-huh. And that was interesting. It was fun.
Well, then you also have the whole the book of Samuel has a whole dissertation against government and nationalism, and then you have the arguments against Asabiya in the Islamic tradition. So you have the majority of Abrahamic faith discussing that from a theological standpoint, nationalism is not a net positive in society.
Yeah, I agree. Obviously, and that's the short message you tell kids is, it's an anti-nationalist thing, and they have to think for a minute, because some of them are being raised to be nationalists, and others are being raised to have national pride for their parents' origin, things like that.
Well, yeah, with any good liberty-themed T-shirt, the idea is to spark conversations about the concepts and the ideas of liberty, just like our La Ikraha Fid-Din shirt. And we will be back with more discussions of concepts of liberty and how to create those conversations right here on the Call to Freedom on LRN.FM. And welcome back to the last and final segment here on Call to Freedom here on LRN.FM. We are joined this evening by my illustrious and amazing, as always, co-host, Mr. Davi Barker.
How's it going?
Along with James Babb of the Freedom Fiends.
Hello.
And let me make sure I get this right. Ken, the Phoenix of Liberty Ottinger.
Absolutely. It's an honor.
So when we were on break, Ken was telling us about his altogether completely normal experience of trying to organize liberty-type people in his own community there in the wonderful police state of Illinois.
Occupied free zone.
So he was telling us about how he was having the same experience that pretty much all the rest of us have had trying to organize liberty events in our local area.
Yeah, and I was essentially trying to get your guys' experiences to see, has it been successful? What kind of time period have you guys had to deal with before you actually get like critical? And if you don't even think you've hit critical mass yet, but like I would be happy with 10 people, honestly.
Yeah,
but
right now, I have never had a successful ongoing libertarian meetup of any kind.
Yeah, me neither.
We used to do voluntarists.
Well, what does successful mean? Tell me what successful means.
Well, it's 10 people on a regular basis.
His scale that he just gave was like 10 people on a regular basis. So that's successful.
And actually thinking about that now, I think that is reaching a little bit far, because even when I was in the Shire at Social Sundays, we would get maybe 11 or 12 people. So and that's the heart. That is the epicenter of liberty. And I think trying to get 10 people regularly in Illinois, I'd probably have better luck getting shot in Chicago.
Well, maybe the goal is necessarily of getting people to show up at a meeting isn't necessarily that practical of a goal. Like I found that it's just not that. I can make an event and say, hey, this is Libertarian beer tasters event, and I can get 15 or 20 people to show up. Well, not for free beer, but just to come to a bar and hang out and drink. It's the kind of thing that maybe that's the Philly style libertarian way.
Right. Well, Davi,
but we have a lot of people get involved with libertarians just for the beer drinking. It's
not just libertarians, though. It's other groups, too. I'm sure Davi can back me up on this from his personal experiences, probably mirroring closely to my own. When you try to organize Muslims to get together to do an event, unless somewhere on the flyer it says free food, if you get 10 people, then you're doing really well. If you have... even if it's something that's...
Well, it's because there's no drinking, right?
Right, yeah. But yeah, if you say free food, then you'll fill the building, which is why people love to do presentations during Ramadan, because there's free food, so the building is full, everybody's there, so that's when you want to do your presentation.
Hey, worked at Porkfest, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Absolutely.
So, I don't know. It seems like a lot of Muslim events, it's about the name draw of the person speaking, and then people pay for a plate as a fundraiser. That happens a lot.
Well, yeah, it does have to do. You've got like 6 big names that if they come, then you're gonna fill the masjid. But outside of that, for just like a regular event, like say you or me or Zahra or like Adam Sultani or somebody like that, if they were doing an event, if you pull 10 people, you're doing well. It's like a regular speaker that's trying to talk about something that's important. If you're like, hey, there's this new thing going on, there's this new legislation happening, there's this new this or that or the other, nobody shows up. If you get
I guess a meetup doesn't generally have a speaker. A meetup is kind of just people meeting at the bar after work and talking.
Yeah, so, we don't really have any lineups or anything. The first one, I tried billing it as, hey, let's all get together and talk about this and the FOID bill, because there's currently a bill going through the Illinois House of Representatives to end the firearm owners identification system and requirements in Illinois, which would be huge. But yeah, like I said, the first time I think I had 3 people, and they were just both of my buddies, and one of them still a minarchist.
There you go.
I know my very first academic lecture that I gave, I was so psyched up for it. I did it at Valencia Community College. I got set up with area. The library gave me space. We did this whole big thing. Had all these people that were like, oh, this is awesome. I can't wait to go. We're going to be like 5 people.
I want to propose this. Liberty, if you've got just a couple, like 2 or 3 libertarians that you can count on to come to a meetup, I want to propose this, going back to what we were talking about in terms of propaganda. Rather than hosting a liberty-themed meetup, you should pick something that for sure you can draw 10, 20, 30 people from any genre. Pick something you all like a Star Trek meetup or a zombie meetup or a coffee meetup or whatever, general public stuff. And then the 3 of you just have to commit that the topic of conversation is going to be libertarian. And when you go to this meetup, You and your 3 friends have to disassociate. You have to go to this meetup as if you have never met before and you're 3 disparate voices in a room full of people so that they're hearing it from multiple angles and multiple sides, and it does not feel like what it is, which is
Right.
a
The
libertarian
topic would be like
conspiracy.
why Harry Mudd was the best character from Star Trek.
Right.
You know, or how the Ferengi got a raw deal.
Yeah.
So you basically use bait and switch advertising in order to create liberty meetups.
But see, now I
You're
can't.
still giving them what they want, right? It's not.
Oh, do I have to?
Yeah, just coach your anarchism philosophy in Star Trek language. It'd be fine. It's very easy to do.
I'm rusty on my Klingon, though. I mean, really.
Well, if you want to talk about central planning, you bring up Return to the Archons, where the central computer was running everything, and everybody like lost their mind, and they had to have that strange festival. And
This is the central question for me and Star Trek. For me, the Prime Directive is outrageously bigoted. It classifies people as warp-faring species and non-warp-faring species, and it's elitist and stupid and needs to be done away with and replaced with the Prime non-aggression principle, which is that you can interact with any sentient species anywhere in the galaxy. You just can't go to war with them for no reason.
how can you tell which species are sentient and which ones are lunch?
Well, you can spend all afternoon on a rock planet and talk to the stones if you want, but I'm just saying there shouldn't be a Prime Directive that says that you can't interact with primitive people. You can just non-aggress with primitive people.
Yeah, I always found that rather odd that you can't talk to anyone that doesn't have warp drive. Like, what if there was a society that completely disavowed warp drive? They're like, no, that stuff sucks. We're just gonna.
We like our planet fine. We're highly advanced and evolved and enlightened, more so than you, petty humans. But we just like our rock, and we never saw any need to get off it.
Yeah, unlike you, we don't have this need to go out and seek elsewhere. We know that the divine is in here, and we don't have to go anywhere. Sorry, petty humans, Frankie.
Yeah, the Prime Directive is racist. That's what I'm saying.
What was that episode, though, where there was a planet like that, where both Captain Kirk and the Klingons were competing to get the Organians to come over to their side, and the Organians like, no, it's cool. Really, we're not afraid of the Klingons. Don't worry. And they're like, but we can teach you and give you school. They're like, now we're cool. Seriously, just, you know. But the Klingons, it's cool.
And they just couldn't understand it. The statist within the whole system, they couldn't wrap their heads around the idea that, I mean, it's like an analogy.
But they were of seemingly simple, but yet far advanced people. So it was kind of like that.
Well,
anyway,
I think if you look at some of the systems that were in place here in the U.S. before the Europeans got here, there could be an argument made for, you know, whether or not they were living in the Bronze Age or the Stone Age. Socially, I think that some of the native tribes were more advanced than the Europeans were.
Oh, absolutely.
That's another reason to interact with primitive planets. What if they actually have things to offer you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
like women and stuff. Like, you know, you never know. Don't
still
roll it
looking
out.
for the pink one.
So I'm saying you could get a room full of 20 muggles to sit in a cafe and argue about this. I think it'd be interesting.
Gotta take it directly from the Star Trek perspective. We'll get Brian. We'll get Dr. Brian Sovereign on, and he can do like a Skype in, like Edward Snowden style.
Yeah, there you go.
Boy.
Oh, that would be great.
All right, guys. Well, our time is now up. We've had James Babb, Freedom Fiend, Phoenix of Liberty, and my amazing co-host, Davi Barker.